Hi, wise. Listen, I was truly debating if I was going to go live or if I was going to just do a pre-video. This is not my normal day to go live. And so I know you're probably like, Coach T, what you doing here on a Wednesday? Good evening, good evening. I'm used to saying good morning, but it's good evening now. Good evening. Listen, I am not too long off the clock. So I am, trust that God will. You're getting my evening time live. And I am super duper tired, to be honest. However, good evening. I feel like this was necessary for me to come on. I decided to take a shower. You know, do my hair a little bit, you know, and come on with you guys, with you ladies, I'm sorry, this evening, and share our final series on skin in the game. Y'all probably like, well, I thought we was going to do that on Saturday. No. We're going to complete the Skin in the Game series on tonight. We're leaving it all on the table tonight. I'm walking away from it after tonight. Actually, Coach T is taking a mini break. I'm taking a mini break. And let me tell you something. This was not by choice. Actually, it was not by choice. This was a command. This was a command from God. And so I'm taking a break. And so I came on tonight because I wanted to make sure that I finish the series. I may possibly come on again, but it's going to be with the wives who actually have completed her bonus boost. And so we will come on and I'll allow her to share her testimony. But I'm not sure exactly what day that would be. So I am preparing for a mini vacation. On top of my youngest son is actually preparing to go back to school. And I felt like the Lord was like, you got to get stuff in order, okay? And you need to regroup for the fall time, all right? And so I'm taking a few Saturdays off from teaching. I'm taking a few Saturdays off from teaching, but I will still be checking in. I will still be checking in with you. My business hours are still the same. You can visit me on my website, or you can visit me on my Google business page, Buoyancy Premarital and Marital Life Coaching. And you can see what my business hours are. I'm still available on my business line. I just won't be doing live stream teaching for a couple of weeks. Like I said, I'll do some pop-ins. I'm still accepting sessions. I'm still signing people up for her Bonus Boost curriculum. None of that is changing. But I'm taking a pause from the live. I might do some pre-recorded stuff and may share, but it won't be nothing long like we've been doing on Saturday. So I said tonight I'm gonna come on. We're leaving it all on the table. We're walking away with this final message: some skin in the game. Some skin in the game. All right. And tonight I actually want to speak to you about something that may make you think a little bit. But this is what we're closing with. It is trust that God will return your husband back to you. Trust that God will return your husband back to you. I want to just also share that I do have a few more days available in the month of July for some consultations. So you definitely can still sign up for a consultation. My website, www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. And that's that, I think. Yeah. So, welcome. My name is Tanika, but I'm known as Coach T. I am a certified business health coach, wife strategist, aka wife coach. Okay. I'm a wife coach. I help wives who are married to husbands who struggle with the disease of alcoholism overcome her mental and emotional distress that's caused by her husband's unhealthy choices. I also help wives to prioritize her self-care. This is for wives and for wives to be. And I also help wives who are standing on this journey of marital restoration, believing God to restore their marriage. All right. My expertise fall under behavioral health, marriage, and faith. And so tonight we are finishing up our final series on skin in the game. We've been talking about skin in the game for the whole month of July. Like hashtag no milk. Giving you meat. I've been giving you meat all month long. And so I want to encourage you, if you have not watched the series, I want to encourage you to go back and watch the series. And so let's say a little prayer, and then we're going to go ahead and jump into it, all right? So, Father God, we bless you on this evening, Lord. I thank you, Jesus, for your amazing grace and mercy, Lord. I thank you for this time. Lord, I thank you for getting us through the summer, from the summer shenanigans to the Skin in the Game series. And, Lord, now we are here. So, Lord, I pray, Lord, that your word may go out, that it would not return back void, God. But I pray that it reaches the wife that it needs to reach, and that she make a decision to make a actionable step. I pray that she makes an actionable step, God. Lord, I pray, Lord, that you would cover this message, God, that you would cover me. Give me the words to speak to your wife, God, to encourage them on this journey. As I pray and I ask these things in your son, Jesus' name. Amen, amen, amen. All right. So, like as mentioned, as we close out this series, Skin in the Game, I want to encourage just one wife today. I may not encourage all the wives. Y'all know I'm upstairs. Y'all know it's a weekday. It's not Saturday, so I'm in the room. I'm not on the sofa tonight. I'm upstairs. You might hear a teenager over there, acting like he been acting. And so I come on to encourage a wife. Okay, it may not be for all wives, but I want to encourage one wife today. All right. Or tonight. I want her to know that God cares about you, wife. God cares about you, okay? He cares about your children. He cares about your finances. He cares about your home. He cares about you. He cares about your husband. He cares about your marriage, okay? God cares for you. He cares for you. And the shift is here. We are transitioning. We are actually transitioning, and it's taking place right now. Listen, wife, God sees, God knows, God hears. God has not forgotten you, okay? He has not forgotten you. He is still on the throne. He is still doing his great work. He has not forgotten about you. And so I wanted you to know that tonight. God cares about you. He cares about you. All right. And not only is he fighting for you, because he is fighting for you, he wants you to know that not one of his faithful servants will go without help this time around. Not one of his faithful servants will go without help this time. All right. This is your time. Claim it. Do not miss your shift. This is your time, wife. Claim it and do not miss your shift. I always try to encourage wives. Don't miss your shift. All right? Don't miss your shift. Good evening. Don't miss your shift. All right? I've actually spoken to about three wives this week in sessions. And when I tell you the attacks are real, All right? They have been real. The enemy knows that God is fighting for his people in this hour. The enemy knows this. And so he's coming in strong. He's coming in strong. He know his time is limited. He know that God is on the move. God is doing some things. It has already been said. It has already been pronounced. And he is trying to devour God's people. But I want to encourage you, Martha. I want to encourage you to keep the faith. Keep the faith. You stay encouraged. Keep showing up. Keep showing up, okay? As long as God give you breath in your body and strength in your bones, keep showing up to your fight, all right? I want to also, though, urge you to take the necessary steps to allow someone to walk with you on this journey, all right? I want to encourage you to take the necessary steps, okay? It is so needed. It is so necessary that you do this, okay? Out of everything I must say I've experienced on my journey, I have to say maybe 75% of it was based off my faith. 75% of my journey was based off my faith, because that is what helped me, okay? It was my faith that helped me. But the other 25%, best believe, is just as important. Okay, you're not a whole till you come to that 100. Okay, so that other 25% was just as important. That including coaching, teaching, working, applying, doing, accountability. All right, all that stuff played a huge role. Okay, and so today I thought I would close out by sharing with you that God will return your husband back to you. Now, if you follow me on Instagram or YouTube, I shared a post today talking about plan B is not an option. Plan B is not an option when God has given you a promise. All right, plan B is not an option. And so I want to let you know, whether your husband is outside of the home and you're separated, or he's inside of the home and you're living separate lives, God has a plan to bring your husband back. All right? God has a plan to bring your husband back. I've shared in the past that my husband and I, we were separated for 3 times. 3 times. Jesus. And several times while even in the home, we were separated, okay, which I think was the hardest. The separation inside the home, to me, was probably the hardest part of my journey, all right? Each time God returned my husband back to me, though. Each time God returned my husband back to me. The third time when he was outside the home, he was out in. I think I shared this recently too, for about 6 months. He came back, things got better for us for about a good year or so. I had no idea. I had no idea, though, that God was getting ready to take us on another journey where we would actually be separated again. Because at this point, I was like, I'm just done. At this point, I'm like, there's no way I can do this with this person again. Like, there's no way that I can go another round like this. But God was faithful. Okay, God was faithful. And he actually seen me through that process. The most hardest thing I have ever did in my life. I've been to funerals. I've lost some important people on my path. I've dealt with a lot of difficult things in life. But none of it, I promise you, none of it has topped what I had experienced in my marriage. None of it has topped to this day. None of it. And I'm not speaking nothing negative over me. I don't want nothing negative to happen to me. But none of it has topped what I experienced. When I tell you excruciating pain, when I tell you suffering, listen, Coach T is a baby. So when I had my children, I did not give birth naturally. That was not my thing. Yes, please drug me. Please drug me, okay? And so my mother used to always say this thing, if you can take your bottom lip and put it over your whole entire head, then you can have a baby, whatever. I said, well, count me out. That ain't me, okay? That ain't me. And so when I tell you, when you think about childbirth, or birthing a baby, that's the pain, like times 1,000. Like, just imagine natural childbirth on 1,000. That's what it has felt like. That's what that time felt like. That being separated inside the home. And I think about how I literally felt like I couldn't go. Imagine feeling like you need to vomit, how you feel like you're about to vomit and nothing's coming out. If you would just vomit, you would feel a lot better, right? Or imagine like standing up and feeling dizzy and feeling like you're about to fall, but you don't fall. It's like if you just fall, it might just be better or whatever. That was the type of agony that I was dealing with. And not this podcast, but the next one in the month of August, me and Miss Nicole, we did a podcast and we talked about this a little bit more in detail. So I want to encourage you guys, let's read her. If you haven't been following me, Miss Nicole, on the Sound Rise podcast, catch that one. That's coming out in the beginning of August, and we talk more about the excruciating pain of dealing with some of the things that you go through in marriage. And so for me, hands down, being separated inside the home has been the most, hello, good evening, has been the most excruciating pain that a person can ever experience in life. All right. And so I get this question asked a lot, like, how did it happen, Coach T? Like, what is the recipe? What is the formula? What do I have to do? What are the steps I have to take? What is it? What do I have to do to get to this place? Like, how did the Lord bring your husband back? How do we get to this place? All right. And I'll share this because I did not have a plan B. I did not have a plan B for my situation. All right. I only had a plan A. And wife, you have to get to a place on your journey where your only plan is God's perfect plan for your life. You have to get to a place on your journey where God's perfect will is the plan for your life. Whatever He has promised you, that's what you stand for. Whatever He has told you concerning your marriage, whatever He has given you, that's what you stand for. Whatever that plan is, nothing in between, you stand for that. I get so many wives who say, well, what about, if we have not heard clearly from God, or what about, if God haven't given us, clear instructions. And this is when I say, this is why you need a coach. This is when you need to make sure that you are getting a strategy so you can hear from God yourself and get specific instructions on how to hear from God. You need to get in a place where you can discipline yourself so you can hear from God. Because the one thing you do not want to do on this journey is be standing and it's not even something God wants for you. All right. I cannot emphasize it enough. The one thing you do not want to do is be standing on this journey and God has not called you to this. So I always tell wives, my thing used to be going a 30-day fast. All right. Going a 30-day fast. But even sometimes when wives do that, they still struggle to hear from to hear from God. And that's why I say, even if you cannot sign up for the curriculum, sign up for your consultation. Sign up for your consultation so you can kind of get I give a 7-day strategy. Give us some type of strategy where you can say, okay, this is a good starting place for me. Because the first thing you need to know while on this journey is, am I supposed to be doing this? Because if you're doing this just because, I love my husband, I want my marriage to work, this and that, whatever, and this is not what God has for you, you are standing in vain. You are literally standing in vain. And so if God have not given you clear instructions, a lot of time I hear people, why say, oh, well, God told me, He told me to be still, just to be still. Okay, being still is a instruction. instruction. Okay, it's a part of the instructions, but even then you need something else. You need something concrete. You need God to give you something else. And as you walk with him and talk to him and spend time with him and meditate with him and sit in his presence, he will begin to give you more instructions. The more you obey, the more you submit, the more you surrender, God will begin to start showing you other things. So when wives tell me that they don't have clear instructions, a lot of times I feel like they don't have clear instructions because they're not in a position or a place to get the next instruction for you. Okay, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later about, I mentioned that on my post as well about listening to too many people, and you can have like a confusion spirit. And so sometimes, you're not hearing from God because you listen to this person, you listen to this person, you listen to that person, you listen to that person. So you got all these different people that you listen to about marriage restoration, and you're not in tune with that one that God has assigned you to. And so it's so very important not only to get in that place with God, but you also need to be connected with someone who God say, this person has something for you. This person is the one I'm going to use to show you some things about your marriage. There's going to be this person who is going to be to help you. These are the things that you want to start praying for. Getting a coach, it's not like how some people like go to get like a weight fitness coach or so you want to, lose some pounds type of coach. No, when you are signing up to have a wife coach with you, this is more of a divine assignment. This is more of a divine assignment. It's not just a random thing that you out here doing, okay? It's not you just out here randomly choosing people. No, this is your marriage on the line. Okay, this is your marriage on the line, and you want to be really, really sure about who you allow to speak into your life concerning your marriage. All right, so I know I kind of like went all the way out just then. I'm gonna bring it back. I digress. But I wanted to just emphasize that part. All right, wives, you need to know that you're supposed to stand. And the only way that you are going to hear what you need to hear from God is by sitting in his presence, disciplining yourself, getting some type of strategy, having a better understanding of what it is. I always tell wives, after 30 days of fasting, God is going to speak. He's going to speak. But sometimes when God speaks, wives don't necessarily know what they're hearing. They're not necessarily know what to look for, what to hear, what to expect. They're getting visions, they're getting dreams, but they're not really understanding those things. So this is why a wife coach is so important. It's not just, I'm just getting this wife coach just to sit here, we're going to have girlfriend time on the phone. No. Like, we out here on assignment. We're not out here just to be out here. Okay? Like, we out here on assignment as well. God has used our story or used something that we have to be able to equip you and to prepare you. So be, just keep those type of things in mind when you're making a decision to sign up for a coach. All right. And so my husband, the Lord returned my husband back to me because I did not have a plan B. I only had a plan A. Now, I want to first say, before I got into that place, I had to make a decision, okay? I had to make a decision to give it all up. And I know why I say that all the time. I've done everything. I did everything. I'm giving everything up. Give up what? You have to give up your plan. You have to give up your way. You have to give up your will. You have to give up your choice. You have to almost give up your life. You have to almost give up your life so that God can reconstruct, reorchestrate, reconnect, regroup, do whatever it is he remold, whatever he needs to do to get you back to that place that he needs you to be so that he can help you to move forward on this journey. All right? You have to surrender. And that's when I got to a place. I told God, you're not surrendering until you say, Lord, I surrender. And it's not that, okay, I'm surrendering in my emotions. Because a lot of times people say, Lord, I surrender. And they be in their emotions. Or they having a moment. They crying. They in church. They had a breakthrough moment or something like that. That's not surrendering, okay? You will know when you are fully surrendering. When you're surrendering, it's almost like being in a fight and you can't sway no more. You don't have nothing else. I always compare it to like a baby. When you think about a newborn baby who, you're trying not to spoil that baby. And so you let the baby sit there and the baby just crying and crying and crying and crying and crying. And that baby, they screaming, they loud, they going in crying. And you let that baby just cry. And finally, the baby been cried so much till they been cried themselves to sleep. That is what surrendering looks like. Surrender means I've taken my hands completely off of it. I don't have any more energy for this. It's like, Lord, this is in your hands. You will know when you get to a place of surrender because you will feel it. It won't be an emotional feeling. It will be something in your spirit, in on the inside of you to say, I'm done. Like I'm done. Okay. So it wasn't a surrender because I don't have, it was more of a surrender that I didn't have anything left in me. I didn't have no more fight. I didn't have nothing. Okay. I didn't have nothing else left in me. All right. I didn't have nothing. It wasn't because I wanted to manipulate God to do something for me, because believe it or not, a lot of wives are on this journey and they're doing that. They are literally doing it. They are literally trying to manipulate God and force God to do something. And God like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. You're not going to make me do anything before I'm supposed to do it. I'm not going to do that. And so it wasn't me manipulating God. It wasn't me like, oh God, it wasn't any of those types of things. It was just me. I literally had nothing left. It was like I was done. I was empty. I was tired. I was numb. I had nothing. If somebody would have came and just dragged me, I would have just been dragged. I didn't have nothing left. I had cross-examined all of my options, okay? Dotted all my I's, crossed all my T's. It was nothing left, okay? I was empty. And wife, I want to encourage you. You too have to get to this place on your journey, all right? You too. Now, I want to pause and say this. Write down everything that you feel like you have done on your journey, all right? Write it all down. Lord, I done did this. Lord, I done did that. Lord, I done did this. Write those things down, all right? Look it over after you write it all down. Look it over. Look it over very thoroughly, okay? You got all this on here. You got your whole list, this and that and other. And then see if there's anything else you can do after that. If there's anything else on that list that may be missing, that you hadn't tried yet, you hadn't did, see if there's anything else on there, all right? If it's something that's on there, I want to encourage you to share your list with a coach. All right, I want to encourage you to share your list with a coach so they can help you to see something that maybe you may not necessarily see yourself. All right, write down what it is that everything you have done. Share that list with a coach. Share that list with your coach and let that coach look it over to help you to see if there is anything else that you need to do, or if there is anything else that you're missing on this. I will say this part though. You have not done everything you can do if death is not knocking at your door. You have not done everything you can do if death itself is not knocking at your door. Now, when I say you're giving your life in a sense, no, I'm not giving my life. I'm laying down my life. I'm submitting my life to Christ. I'm submitting myself to Christ and I'm letting him have his way. You have to understand. Let's go back to the cross. When Jesus was carrying his cross all the way up and he got to that place where he was there, Jesus was at the door of death. He was literally at the door of death. And so I say, you have not done everything, wife, if you are not at your door of death. When you have done everything, your coach, no sermon, nothing you watch on YouTube, none of that stuff is going to work, because at that place in time, now you are solely, completely dependent, relying on God. Nothing else works. Sermons don't work. YouTube videos don't work. Your coach don't work. Nothing else work. You have done everything. You are at the door of death. That's when you know you have completely surrendered. how they said Jesus, he cried blood tears. Okay, if you not crying blood tears, you have not did everything you're supposed to do. You have not examined all errors. You have not fully went through the whole process that you needed to go to. Okay, at this point, God had spoke to me again. Okay, he said, you're going to drive yourself crazy if you don't let me take it from here. Because I was literally like, like, you know, trying to really make sure that I am doing. Because at the end of the day, it's like, I want to hear those words. Well done, my faithful servant. Well done, my faithful daughter. I want to hear those words because I've been rocking with you this long, Jesus. I want to see this thing come to the end. Like, what else do I have to do? And I heard him say, if you don't let me have this, you're going to drive yourself crazy, okay? If you don't let me take it from here, you're going to drive yourself crazy, all right? He told me, because I didn't even know this. He told me that I had had several mental breakdowns. I didn't even know I had had those. I had had anxiety attacks. I was dealing with stuff. I didn't even know what I was dealing with, all right? And so he told me he had to take it from here. If I did not release it, then I was going to drive myself crazy, okay? Before I totally surrendered to God, and he told me that I needed to be still. I kept on hearing the word stillness, 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 stillness. I kept on hearing that word stillness. And so that means not prayer, not declarations, not journaling, not working on another project, not helping someone else, but he needed my full attention. I was not okay with that. I was not used to being still. I was used to like, boom, boom, you know, let's go. What we got to do? I was used to that. And I learned that day I was not good at being still. It was almost like, put your phone down, put your hands down, just sit here. Now, mind you, this is something I used to do on my journey prior to my husband coming home. I was in that space. I was doing those things. But when he told me that I need you to let me get it from here, I need you to let me take this from here, I was not okay with this. I was doing my hands and moving and, Lord, is there anything else? You sure I ain't supposed to be saying nothing else? You sure I ain't supposed to be praying and doing nothing? He said, I need stillness from you. Okay, I need stillness from you. All right, and I didn't do that well. I wasn't used to not doing nothing, but I had to run my course. All right, I had to run my course. There was nothing else more for me to do. And then I kept hearing the words. And this is why it's so important for you to get in that still place, and for you to get in that quiet place, and for you to get in that secret place with God. Because once you do finally sit still, he will start to download things. He will start to speak to you. He will start to share things with you. And so then I start hearing, vindicate me. Hello. Vindicate me. All right. I started hearing the words vindicate me. It kept on popping up in my spirit. I'm like, dang, vindicate me. Like, I knew that scripture. Like, it just, but I kept on hearing it. Vindicate me. It was loud. That voice was very, very loud. So I began studying scriptures on it. I started studying scriptures on vindicate me. In the simplest form, to be vindicated means to be clear from something. Baby, when I got that, it was like, that's exactly what I need. It's like, God, I need to be clear from this assignment. Like, I need to be finished with this. I have done everything you have asked me to do. I have, kept the faith. I've been rolling with you. I've been trusting you. I've been doing the things that you have asked of me. I need to now be clear from this. Okay, I need to be clear from this. And so, that's what I felt like I needed at that time. I need to be clear from this because I had been twirling with this for over 10 years. It wasn't like this was something like I did like one time and, 1 year. Like, hear a lot of people talk about, they was on a journey for 1 or 2 years. No, not Coach T. Coach T was on her journey for 10 plus years. I was on my journey for a long time. And the reason why I was on my journey for a long time is because I kept on trying to do things in my own strength. I kept on trying to do things on my own. I kept on trying to eliminate the process and bypass the process. Okay. And so I went through that. I went through all the ups and downs. I was over it. I was over it. I needed to be vindicated. I needed to be cleared from this, because at this point I was done. All right. And so, of course, Elijah. I absolutely loved Elijah. In Second Kings 1:2, it says, if I be a man of God, if I be a man of God, may fire come down from heaven. Okay, may fire come down from heaven on my behalf. And that has started being my, that has started being my standing verse. I kept on saying, Lord, if I be a woman of God, if I be a woman from God, and I used to add, Lord, may fire come down and consume my marital enemies. If I be a man, if I be a woman of God, Lord, may your fire come and consume my enemies. When you come and fight for me, may you come and vindicate me. Lord, I need you to clear me from this. All right, because surely the cause of this was from the enemy. Surely the enemy was up to something. Surely the enemy was on a job and he was trying to take me out. And I'm like, I need to be clear from this. I need to be cleared from this assignment. Lord, I have done, from the time you have told me, I have been doing what I'm supposed to do. I've did what you have asked me to do. All right. So imagine being a wet rag. Imagine being a wet rag and being squeezed so tight to you almost dry. Okay, you're being squeezed so tight till you're almost dry. That's where I was at. That's where I was at. I had been dreaming of my husband like crazy. Okay, I had been getting all types of visions, good visions, bad visions. It was horrible. Okay, some of them I was in a good place with him. Some of them I was literally hitting him. I was like seeing myself like just constantly hitting him. I kept hitting him in the dreams and asking him to stop, like just stop, stop this foolery, stop the cheating, stop the abandonment, stop the drinking. Okay. Consciously and unconsciously, I feel like I was going in and out, in and out. I was all over the place. But I kept hearing the Lord say, vindicate me, vindicate me, vindicate me. Then I heard, vindicate me, O Lord. So now I will wake up in my sleep, vindicate me, O Lord. Vindicate me, O Lord. Like now these words was like coming out of my mouth. I was waking up and it's coming out of my mouth. I was waking up in tears. I was waking up, breathing all kind of hard. I was waking up like this. And then I was led to read these chapters in the book of Psalms 26. I would recommend and encourage wives to go back and read these. Psalms 26, Psalms 35, and Psalms 43. All three of these Psalms spoke of vindication and how David was asking God to come to his rescue. All right. And asking God to come to his rescue. And so I actually want to read Psalms 43 today. And then we will close with Joseph's story. So it says, vindicate me, O God, and plead my cause against an ungodly nation. Oh, deliver me from the deceitful and unjust man, for you are the God of my strength. Why do you cast me off? Why do I go mourning because of the oppression of my enemies? Oh, send out your light and your truth. Let them lead me. Let them bring me to your holy hill and to your tabernacle. Then I will go to the altar of God, to God my exceedingly joy, and on the harp I will praise you. Oh my God, why are you cast down, O my soul? And why are you disquiet within me? Hope in God, for I shall yet praise him to help of my conscience and my God. Listen, I'm just going to break it down. I kind of like just summarize it a little bit. This verse talks about the depression of David. Okay. Last week I spoke to you about the grief process. And if you have not, had a chance to go and see that video, I would encourage you to go and listen to it. Listen, I don't know, something was going on with the volume. So you may have to listen in a little differently, but I want to encourage you. Good evening. To go back and listen to the grief process. All right. And so we talked about the 5 stages of grief. You have anger. You have, what's the first one? First one you have denial. You have anger, you have bargaining, you have depression, and then you have acceptance. Okay. You have denial, anger, bargaining, then acceptance. Right? I said that right. Go back and watch the video, okay? And so in this verse 43, David was depressed. Okay. Okay. He was out of the part. He was out of the denial stage. Okay. He was out of the anger stage. He was out of the bargaining stage. And now he done fell into depression. Okay. He in straight depression right now. And so David was depressed. Okay. He was going through. All right. He was going through the mourning he was experiencing in the hardest parts of it. He was experiencing it from someone very close to him that he trusted, okay? It was his son. This verse talks about how his son, you go back and read the story, how his son Absalom was basically trying to kill his father. You know, he was trying to kill his father. And so David was very, very, very hurt by this. Like, this was not just a random person that he had been hurt by. This was his son. He was crying out to God to judge this situation. He kept on crying out to God, Lord, judge the situation. Take this matter into your hands, okay? David was begging God for deliverance. He was begging God for deliverance. He's begging God to show up on his behalf. He's asking God to step in and to prove to his enemies that he's not crazy. One of the things I used to always pray was, Lord, show them that I'm not crazy. Like, show them that you are actually the one leading this. Show them that you are the one who is allowing this. Show them that you the one told me to do this. Like, show them that it's not me that's doing this, but I have a whole group of angels standing on beside me. I have a whole group of angels surrounding me. Tell them that I'm not doing this in my own strength. Tell them that I'm not the one that's doing this. Tell them that it's you who is allowing these things to happen through me. And that was my biggest thing. I used to always want the Lord to really, really like just show up on my behalf. From the deceitful and positions, he was able to receive. Joseph's story is a perfect picture of how his son, you go back and read the story, was basically trying to kill his father. What happened? Okay. God, who is the help and health of our contents, happened. That's what happened. The living God kicked in on David's behalf. He allowed a shift to take place, and David was in place to receive it. He allowed a shift to take place. He allowed something supernaturally to take place with David, and David was able to receive it. And because David was in place, and because David was positioned, he was able to receive that. And so he went from being depressed till he came to a place of acceptance. He came to a place of acceptance, and he allowed the joy of the Lord to be his strength. He allowed the Lord to usher him into a place of praise. He allowed God to do whatever it is in him that he needed to, be worked out. He allowed God to do those things until he brought his situation to pass. And eventually he did. All right. And so I always say that to say, I want to just encourage wives. Do not think when you are going through a depressed moment on your journey that is not normal. Okay, that is not normal. It is. And guess what? Sometimes God is behind it. Sometimes God is allowing it. He is allowing it, but he is allowing it because he wants you to be able to receive that supernaturalness that he wants to give to you. He wants you to be able to receive something that he has for you. He wants to offer you something in that time. So the Bible talks about, I think in Matthew, that God is close to the brokenhearted. God is close to the brokenhearted. Hello. He is close to the brokenhearted. God is always with you when you're going through that moment of depressed and down and feeling downcast. David was going through it. He was truly going through it. But he allowed God to shift him. And the reason why he allowed God to shift him, he knew that God was getting ready to do something in his life, and that's what he did. He did not miss his shift. He was in place and he was in position. All right. And so I want to end with Joseph. I want to end with Joseph's story. All right. Joseph's story is a perfect picture of the process that wives go through. And like I told y'all a couple of weeks ago, I wasn't going to read, through Joseph's story verbatim, and we kind of like just jumped around. But if you go back and read Joseph's story, starting in Genesis, I think 37, If you go back and read his story from Genesis 37 to 50, Joseph's story is a perfect picture of a wife going through her process, okay? After Joseph had been thrown into the pit, he was sold as a slave. He was falsely accused of sleeping with someone that he didn't sleep with. He was thrown in jail. And then he was finally called. He was finally called. All right. Joseph went through the process, and guess what? He got through it. Joseph's story is a picture that shows and proves that you can get through your process. If you allow God the opportunity to change you, the results are perfect. All right, the results are perfect. I want to read to you two verses from Genesis 41, 51 and 52. Genesis chapter 41, verses 51 and 52. It says, Joseph named his older son Messiah, for he said, God has made me forget all my troubles and everyone in my father's family. Verse 52. Joseph named his second son Ephraim, for he said, God has made me fruitful in this land of my grief. Through Joseph's process, God birthed something amazing on the inside of Joseph. Okay? His story illustrates that God is very intentional about the plans he has for your life. Why? That includes your marriage. That includes the fall of your marriage. That includes your marriage and what you're going through in your marriage right now. All right. God was able to birth something in Joseph during this time. His story illustrates God being intentional about the plans that he has. He ordered Joseph's steps according to what he knew Joseph needed. Many times, wives don't realize the reason God chose you for this assignment specifically. And I always try to be careful how I explain this, because a lot of times people take this and say, oh, well, it's okay that he's cheating. Oh, it's okay that he's sleeping with another woman. Oh, it's okay that he's not inside the home. No, your husband's choices is your husband's choices. But sometimes God will allow certain things to happen in your marriage because he needs to work something out in you. You may not get that lesson from any other place in life. And so he uses your marriage to teach you whatever that lesson is that you need to be taught. Or he uses your marriage to strengthen you and to build you and to mold you and to make you stronger. God chooses you, wife, for this journey, not only to restore your marriage, but God chooses you, wife, for this journey because he has something much bigger and better for you on the other side. And so this process is not just about, oh, I got to get here to the other side because I got to get to see, what God is trying to do in my marriage. That's only part of it. That's only part of it. The reason why you want to get to the other side is because God has something bigger specifically for you, wife. And he wants to do something, and he wants to do something miraculous on the inside of you. All right? In Genesis 46, Joseph and his father Jacob were finally reunited. After all the years of distress that Joseph went through, God finally helped Joseph forget his troubles. He made him fruitful, and he returned not only his father, but his entire family back together. This is not just about your marriage, wife. This is not just about your marriage. God is going to bring your husband back to you. He is. That's his plan. If he has given you a specific instruction, if he has given you a specific promise concerning your marriage, you best believe that he's going to bring your husband back to you. But God wants to give you so much more than just your husband. He want to bless you with so much more than just your husband. Okay? Don't miss this part. Joseph's journey was necessary. Joseph's journey was necessary. And it was all part of God's plan for his life. That's the part that people be like, what? Like God was behind this the entire time? Yup. God allowed the enemy to devour you. God allowed the enemy to come for your household. God allowed the enemy to come for your marriage. God allowed your husband to be deceived. God allowed your husband to do those things that he did. God allowed it. He allowed it. And I know sometimes you don't, that's not something that you sit back and like really take into consideration. But I always tell wives, if something is happening and you're praying about it and nothing is changing, you might want to go in a little deeper and see why. Because 9 out of 10, God may be allowing that thing to happen or go through like that for a specific reason. My favorite story was in the book of Exodus. In the book of Exodus, when the Lord told Moses, go tell Pharaoh to let my people go. Like, I had the hardest time trying to understand that scripture. I would read it over and over and over and over and over again, because I could not understand why, one, God would tell Moses to go tell Pharaoh to let his people go. But when he would tell him that, he would also harden Pharaoh's heart. So you sending him out to go tell this man to let your people go, but at the same time, you allowing this man's heart to be ugly towards him, because when he get there, he's going to make it difficult for Moses. Why are you doing that, God? Like, I could not understand it. Like, why are you doing that? Why are you allowing him to go ask Pharaoh to let your people go, but then at the same time, you're hardening his heart? And for a long time, I struggled with that, because that was like I felt like that's what I was dealing with in a sense. And God said, I allowed him to do that because at the end of the day, I'm going to get the glory for this. At the end of the day, when people start to see what happened, when people see what's going on in your marriage, it ain't going to be because of what you did. It ain't going to be because of what your husband did. It's going to be what I did. At the end of the day, I want them to see something bigger. Let's go to Jesus and his friend Lazarus. They call him Jesus, Lazarus, he's on his deathbed. He's at the end of his life. He's here, he's that. And Jesus like, all right. And he don't come. Instead, he waited a few more days. He took a little bit longer. Like, why would you not go? They're telling you that he's on his deathbed. He's not doing well. He's sick right now. And you don't go. Instead, you take a little bit longer to go. And then you finally get there, and his sisters are like, dude, I thought you was my friend. Like, why would you not show up? I called you and let you know that, your friend, he's sick. Why did you not come, to our rescue? And Jesus was like, I'm here now. I am the rescuer. Come on, Jesus. I am the resurrection. I am the way. I am the truth. I am the light. Jesus said, I'm here now. I'm here now. And best believe, because I'm here now, some things are getting ready to happen. The Lord he knew when that moment came, he knew people were going to be there. They were going to be amazed. They're going to be like, listen, you got witnesses, wives. People are watching you. People who think you crazy, people sitting in the background, people saying, girl, you shouldn't do that. You got all these naysayers. God's like, this is not going to be about you or your husband. I am going to get the glory out of this. When they see your situation come to pass, when they see what I do in your marriage, they don't know that ain't nobody but God, because ain't nobody but God could do something like that. Nobody but God can do something like that. And so Joseph's situation was very similar. Okay, it's very similar. Joseph was 17 when he got that divine dream. In the beginning, Joseph had a dream. He had a dream. He shared his dream. He had no idea that dream was going to put him on this journey that was going to flip his life upside down. He had no idea that dream was going to flip his world all around. He had no idea him having that dream was going to take him places. He had no idea the pain that he was going to encounter. Good evening. He had no idea the pain that he was going to encounter during this time. He had no idea. He had absolutely no idea. All right. And so it took him 13 years to get through his process. I told you I was in my journey for about 10 plus years. It took Joseph 13 years to get through his process. And I just have a question for you, wife. How much time you got? How much time do you got? Okay. How much time do you have? All right. I want to share with you a few things to consider while trusting God to bring your husband back home. Okay. I want you to take these kind of things in consideration. Of course, the first thing, you have to trust God. There's no other way this is working. There's no other way this is working. You have to trust God on this journey. Now, they may look like trusting him moment by moment, minute by minute, hour by hour. day by day, you know. I remember the Lord would ask me. He would ask me one time. I was like, Lord, I trust you. He asked me again, Lord, I trust you. And another season of my life, I'm like, Lord, I'm still trying to trust you. You know. Then I got to a point where I was like, Lord, I'm trusting you by the minute. I'm trusting you by the hour. I'm trusting you by the moment. I'm trusting you by the day. Because it got to that point where it was like, Lord, what is you doing? Like, what is you, like, please come for me. Please free me from this. Just come and take me out. Like, I don't want to do this no more. Please just come for me. All right. So you have to first understand, wife, that you have to trust God. However that look for you, you got to do that. If you be honest with God, say, Lord, you know, I trust you, but please help my unbelief. Lord, I'm trusting you, but I'm still struggling in this area. Lord, I trust you, but I'm still struggling. You know, I'm still having a hard time with this. Be honest with God. Like, don't lie. Be honest with him about that situation. All right. The next thing I took into consideration, what God had already did and what he had said. Okay, I took into consideration the promises that had already taken place. I took into consideration when I was at the hospital with my husband, and the Lord told me that He's going to bring my husband back home. I took into consideration when the Lord would tell me when I was here in my bedroom and crying in tears, that the Lord telling me He was going to just walk up in here. I took into consideration that the Lord told me it was going to be around this time of the year when these things happen. I took all those types of things into consideration. The Lord gave me a lot of word of wisdom. He gave me a lot of things ahead of time. You know, he spoke a lot of things to me before I can even see those things. And so I took those things into consideration because some of those things that he had shared with me had come to pass. And so those types of things you have to take into consideration. What has God already done for you on this journey? What has God already allowed? So many times we so focus on the negative, and we don't take into consideration what God is already doing. And God is like, I'm already working it out for you. I'm already doing something for you, right? You know, even now, I'm already doing something. And so you have to take that kind of stuff into consideration. What it has God already did, or what has already taken place that God has done. All right. I took into consideration my children. I took into consideration that my dream, if we go back to Joseph's dream, one of my dreams was to raise my children in a stable household. I wanted to raise them in a stable household. I wanted to raise them in a neighborhood where they can go to school with friends. I wanted to hello, good evening. I wanted them to go to the same school and be consistent. I wanted my children to have stability. I took that kind of stuff into consideration. You know, I didn't want to be that parent that was jumping around from place to place. I didn't want my children all over. I want my place to be in a stable household, even if one parent was not doing their part. I wanted them to see stability and consistency with me. I took into consideration that if I was to take, you know, my child away, will that parent try to reach out? Will that parent try to, you know, contact them? For me, it would be a relief. But what about my child? You know, for me, I would be fine. But how would my child feel? So that was something that I took into consideration. It was my children were growing faster than God was moving. Like they was getting real big overnight. And I didn't want to disturb their schedules. I did not want to disturb their schedules. I wanted them to have the same equal opportunity. I want them both to have the same equal opportunity. You know, my children like almost 4.5, almost 5 years apart. And so that was important for me. I wanted both them to have the same thing. So that was something I took into consideration. I took into consideration, where would I stay? Y'all know how this house thing is right now. These apartments is not like how they used to be back in the day, you know. You used to go get an apartment and stay in 2 bedrooms, $600-$700. You paying almost $1,600, $1,700, $1,800 just for an apartment these days, okay? And so I took into consideration where I would go and live, and was living in the home with my husband, you know, something I could sustain, you know. At that time, I was, like I mentioned, I was the one paying all the bills. So one of the things I took into consideration was, will I be able? Because now, if I was to leave the home, I'm stepping out of God's will. So will I be able to sustain my living expenses on the outside? Will I be able to have that same favor that God has given me, that he has given me inside my home? Will I still have that same favor on the outside? Because God showed me a lot of favor on my journey. God helped me a lot on my journey. And so it wasn't just like, okay, just pick up and just go. I took into consideration, will I be able to have the same favor? Will I be able to have these same things? Will I be able to afford our living expenses with raising, 2 children on my own? I took that kind of stuff into consideration. All right. I took into consideration the promises that even still to this day, I'm still holding on to. There is something specifically that I'm still waiting for God to bring to pass, but God constantly reminds me of it. It's almost like still to this day a push for me, to keep going and to keep showing up. Even for my wife clients, it's like a push for me to keep going, because it's like, I'm going to still do this for you. I'm going to do that for you. So I took into consideration, I still take into consideration some of the promises that God has promised me that has not come to pass, but he constantly reminds me of them coming to pass. I took into consideration the time that I put in. Okay. Listen, one of the things I used to always think about, and it was not the main thing, but it was definitely one of the things that I took into consideration, was I don't put all this work into this marriage. I done did all this stuff. I'm gonna let some other woman come and swoop him up and get this. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm like, if it don't happen, it's gonna be because God said this is not what I want for you no more. But I'm not gonna just allow somebody else to come and swoop up all the work that I put into it. No, I took into consideration the time I had put in. I had been married to my husband for many, many years, and I had been fighting for our marriage for many, many years, and I had been standing up to some giants. I had to address the elephants in the room. Like, I was not going to just walk away from that kind of stuff. So I took those types of things into consideration. I was going to be bold about my stance. I was going to be bold about it. It's like, if you're going to come and get me, you better come and get me and knock me all the way out. Otherwise, I'm here. And so I took into consideration the time I had put in. I had made it this far, and so I wanted to see everything come to pass that God had shared with me that it would come to pass. All right. I took into consideration my marital vows. That was a big deal for me. And a lot of people don't know, but I am a wedding officiant, so I marry couples. And so when you marry couples, I always say it's like a person, it's like a doctor who's doing surgery. Okay. And I remember one girl told me before, she said, one thing you do not want to play with is when it comes down to somebody, come to somebody's wedding. Like, it's like, that's that person's day. Like, that's a dream come true for somebody. And I always, every time I perform a wedding, I always feel like I'm under so much pressure, because it's almost like you're getting ready for surgery. Like, you are really speaking and pronouncing words over this person's life, and what you say can make them or break them, type of thing, or whatever. And so I took in consideration my vows. I took into consideration the things that I spoke. I took in consideration that it's not just me and my husband, but that God is that third string, that God was part of this. I took that kind of stuff into consideration. It was a movie called The Vow. And I remember the one scene on there where the mom, the daughter had finally came to herself, and she started to realize, what was her reason for leaving the home in the first place. And she seen the friend in the store who actually, the friend had an affair with her dad. And that was one of the reasons why she left, because her mom decided to stay with the father. And so she went to the mom. The mom was working in the garden, and the mom was there. And she was like, that's why I left. She was, screaming at her mom. That's why I left. I left because dad had an affair, and you didn't leave him. And the mom, she said, no, I didn't leave him. She said, I made a decision to stay. I looked around at our home. I looked around at the pictures. I had memories of you girls growing up. I thought about all the good things that he did. And out of those things, I made a decision to stay. And so I say that to say, you have to really, really make sure that you are examining everything, that you are examining everything. And that was one of the things that really kept me. I thought about my vows. I thought about everything that all the good times and the good things that we did have. It wasn't all bad. We had a lot of bad, but it was also some things that were also good that made me say, okay, you know, I remember that. Or I remember when we did that. I remember we used to go on vacation here. I remember we used to cook dinner together. I remember we used to barbecue here. I remember we used to go out as a family here. You know, I took those kind of things into consideration. All right. And so those are some things that you want to keep in mind when you're making your decision, you know, whether you can do this or whether you cannot. The last time my husband returned back home, I had no idea I was going to be separated an additional 2 more years inside the home. Okay. It was the most, like I said earlier, the most difficult time of my life. It was agony on top of agony on top of agony on top of agony. But I say this, God is so faithful. God is so faithful. And he told me he will bring my husband back to me. And that's what I believed. He told me your husband will come to himself. He told me, hold on, it won't be long now. He told me I got him exactly where I want to have him at. It was God speaking to me and reassuring me that we were on the right track to going forward. And that's why it's so important for wives to begin to learn the voice of God so they can have that time with God, so God can download into them and speak to them and get to that place where God is letting you know exactly what he's doing. Where he's letting you know exactly what he's doing. I think he talked about that with his disciples. He said, a teacher teach, but my friend, I share things with my friend. God will share with you exactly what he's doing with you on your journey. And I feel like if I did not have that, if I did not have those things, I do not know if I would have been able to maintain my journey. I don't know if I would be able to maintain it if I was not hearing clearly from God. And so that's why it was so important for me to God, vindicate me. Show them that this is not me. Vindicate me and show him that you are the one who is behind this. You are the one who's telling me to be here. It's not because, oh, you so desperate, or, oh, you so this or you so that. Good evening. Or you can't find nobody, you can't do this or whatever. No, it's because I am literally trying to do the will of God. It ain't got nothing to do with nothing else. It had nothing to do with nothing else. I literally wanted to prove God. I literally wanted to show God. I literally wanted to do the work of God. That was it. If you ask me why I stayed because God asked me to stay. I stayed because I wanted to be obedient to God. I stayed because I wanted to please God. I stayed because I wanted to see the things that God promised me come to pass. All right. So why? For me, there was no plan B. There was no plan B because God had already promised me plan A. So I didn't have a backup. I didn't have you hear someone, well, what if he don't do this? Or what if he don't do that? You don't have to even ask those kind of questions when God has been clear to you, when God has given you specific instructions. You don't have to ask those questions of what is, or, oh, if this don't happen, what if he do this, or what if this happen? You don't have to do that. All you have to determine is, are you willing? Are you willing to go forward with God's plan? Are you willing to go with plan A? Are you willing to do it God's way? Are you willing to do it, to do what God's asking you to do? How long are you willing to believe? How long are you willing to stand? How long are you willing to, to be there? How long are you willing to go on that journey? That's what it comes down to. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And so I said that to say, wives, listen, it's decision-making time. All right. It is decision-making time. I want to encourage you. Sign up for your consultation. So many wives are missing it. So many wives are leaving much on the table because they are not truly understanding this, or there are a lot of blind spots that they are missing. They don't see certain things. They're thinking that they're doing the right thing. And it's like, you need help. You need somebody to show you the ropes of this. And so that's why I always encourage, sign up for your consultation. The consultation is just your first step. The consultation just gives you an idea of where you are on your journey. It lets you know what you need to, some things that you can work on. I give you a 7-day strategy to help you on your journey, to kind of get you going, and get you started. But even after you do the consultation, I always encourage you, do your work. Do your work. That's where her buoyancy boost comes in at. Doing your work, not only does it allow you to do your work, but it also allows you access to ongoing coaching. A consultation usually stops there. You know, I won't see you unless you actually do the harmonious boost. And the reason I do that is because there's not much I can keep telling you without telling you, you know. It's like you need to go through the consultation so we can understand the same, you know, language. So we can have the same, you know, you will understand when I say things. I use certain words. You'll understand those things. When I say, you know, follow through with this or follow through with that, you will know what that means because you actually did the curriculum. And so I will always encourage you, sign up for the curriculum. Her Bonus Boost. It's a 6-week curriculum. It helps you to look at yourself and work on what it is that you need to work on. It helps you to build your faith. It helps you to put your whole dependence and your whole reliance on the Lord. Not only that, it is a self-care curriculum. So I am teaching wives how to take care of themselves, how to literally prioritize themselves and get to that place so you can hear. Get to that place where you are disciplining yourself so you can know when God is speaking to you. Get to that place where you are hearing the voice of God for yourself. All right. And then once you do the curriculum, it's all, you know, a go from there, because then you can have sessions as much as you want, as many times as you like, however many times. I encourage wives to continue up to 1 year, check in once a month for an entire year. That's just your accountability. That's just holding you accountable, because each place and stage you're going to go through different things. Okay, in the beginning you may be feeling this way, in the middle you might start feeling this way, close to the end it may change again. When he comes home, it's going to change again. So I want to encourage you. That's one of the reasons why it's so important for you to take the curriculum, because then you can say, okay, Coach, I need to see you twice in a month. I can't just do once a month. I might need to see you twice. And some people, they may have to see you more than that until they get to a place where they can say, okay, I can do this on my own. That way you also get the coaching for a discounted price at that time. Once you take the curriculum, you then you have access to do it for a discounted price. But I want to encourage you to sign up. Start with the consultation. That's www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. Listen, I want to share this with you and I'm going to let you go. I promise. Me and Miss Nicole, I told you on the podcast, you probably hear it more the beginning of August. We talked about, and I think I did a video recently on why you know, it's important for wives to actually get connected with a wife coach versus a therapist or a counselor. I think Miss Nicole shares her story about, you know, her actually seeing a therapist. Well, I actually did see a counselor. And I had 3 sessions. It was with the church. I had 3 sessions with the church. And I remember sharing my story with this lady. And she was looking at me like I was jacked up crazy, okay? She was looking at me like I was crazy. Like, man, what are you talking about? What are you doing? And I kept on telling her, but the Lord told me, you know, my husband was coming back home. But the Lord told me that he was going to bring my husband back home. The Lord told me. And she did not believe me. It wasn't until we was at church, me and my husband, we was at church, and she seen us, and she was like completely frozen. She didn't even know what to say. She couldn't say nothing. She was just like, because the whole entire time I kept on telling her, but the Lord said. And so I said it to say, you need to be connected with someone who understands your story. That's 1. 2, if God has given you a specific promise, wife, concerning your marriage, best believe he is going to back it up. All right. And so I want to encourage you. Sign up for your consultation. Sign up for your Harmonious Boost curriculum. And then do your monthly check-ins. All right. You can sign up. www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. Listen, I will see you guys sometime in August for a teaching, but I will be checking in with you guys from time to time over the next couple of Saturdays. All right. Listen, you guys have an awesome night. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon. Blessings.